Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom of sound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungle's deep to the captive scene, Retics rule the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic Rundown. Hear the echo rings. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome, Retic lovers. Welcome, Retic lovers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 13 of the Retic Rundown. Thanks for joining us. Just come in, say what's going on. So we got a little bit of a jolt in today's episode. You guys know we normally have 3 guests. I had one that had to drop off last minute due to some personal things, and life happens, so we're understanding. So tonight you're going to get 2 guests, but you're going to get 6 questions answered. And I still think you guys are going to get a ton of great information, and we'll catch up with that guest another time. I just want to come in, say hello. So say what's up going on. What's happening, James? We got Jason Phillip in the house. Low Life Exotics, Vin from Bone Daddy Serpents. What's happening? Brian Locke, how you doing, buddy? Adam from Goolsby Servants. Justin from Triple H. What's going on? What's going on, Celeste? How are you? Daniel, what's happening? We got John with Reforming Genetics. Got Sky. I met Sky at this weekend at Tinley. Got, of course, Jay Lunsford and Mike Duvall. Hey, guys, how are all of y'all doing? First of all, if I seen you at Tinley, man, what's up? Tinley was awesome this time. If you don't know, it was my last Tinley with Reach Out Reptiles. By far will probably not be my last Tinley overall, but it was my last Tinley with Reach Out, and it was a blast. Hey, Matt, what's happening? Jordan, what's going on, buddy? How are you? So if you guys hadn't heard that announcement, though, that was happening, and so it was a lot of fun, though. We had a great time. Tinley was always a blast. I love seeing everybody. So, all right, not to waste any time. First off, I want to say thank you guys to US Arc Florida. You guys know that they help make sure that we can keep doing what we're doing. Want to say thanks to Mike backstage and the Herp Collectors Network making this possible. And now I want to bring out our guests. So the first one, like I said, we had one drop off. So Jonathan from Phylogeny Reptilia is not going to be able to join us tonight. He had some stuff come up, but we're going to bring out our first guest. And this is a guy that I know really well. I'm having a fun time. Just got a retic from these guys over at Titan Retics this weekend, actually, while I was at Tinley. So I want to welcome Noah Holland to the stage. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, man?
It's good, man. It's good. So I want to say thanks for coming on. I think you're gonna be able to give a wealth of information out, and I think these 6 questions are gonna be awesome. So for real quick though, bud. This is your chance at the floor. Tell everybody who you are, where they can find you.
I'm Noah Holland from Titan Retics. You can find us on Facebook at Titan Retics. Instagram, we have a Titan Retics. My personal page is Holland_8 at Instagram. So I'm just excited to be here and talk some Retics. Yeah, no, I'm stoked for it, man. I'm stoked for it too. All right, cool. All right, next, guys, we're going to have Jim Martin from Jim Reptiles. So, Jim, what's happening, man? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how you doing? Glad to be here.
Good, man. Good. All right. So the floor is yours. You can tell us a little bit about yourself, where they can find you, and then we're ready to dive into some questions, man.
We are on Facebook at JIM Reptiles. We're on Instagram at JIM Reptiles 2020. Um, we're on X, or whatever it's called this week. And
Twitter, X,
we're even on another one, Threads.
TikTok.
Threads. Now, Jason does some TikTok for me, but I'm not involved in that. He is.
Oh,
Jason's
gotcha.
my son, which is, JIM is Jim and JIM is his initials. So works
Oh,
out good.
nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask that. I was like, with the dots, or with the
Yeah,
initialed out. I was.
his initials are it's Jason Ian Martin, so it's he and
Oh,
I.
nice. It's cool. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, y'all know the deal. Normally it's four questions, 3 minutes. This time you guys are all gonna get you're gonna get 6 questions, still 3 minutes apiece. But the key is it's all information, it's hard, it's fast charging, and it's no bullshit. So I'm ready to get into it. You guys ready?
For sure.
I'm in.
All right. Noah, you're gonna go first. Jim, like I said, you're gonna go second. We talked about that backstage. So Noah, I got you up first, man. You ready? How do you define your breeding goals? Are they morph driven, locality focused, or something else?
Got it. My breeding goals are basically just start out most important is just having fun, doing what I enjoy, not getting turned away from with the mainland stuff. I'm doing traveled into the
Uh-oh. Hey Noah.
ground up. The past to make animals that I want to see happen, and sticking and making my own hets, double, triple recessive projects is mainly what I work with.
Okay. Question: did anybody else catch that much lag with Noah
I don't know if
on
I'm in
his
here.
answer?
Yeah, I got some lag here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think I caught about half of it, Noah. Which is a bummer. But you was having some serious lag on that one.
I was.
Yeah, you were. You want to try it again? I'll give you a net. Yeah, everybody,
Yeah.
can you repeat that?
Am I still good?
You're
Can you hear me
still
right
good.
now?
I can hear
Okay.
you a whole lot better now.
All right. Yeah, we started again. Yeah. So basically, with the mainland stuff, I'm doing mainly morph driven projects, long term stuff that is going to be double and triple recessive, sometimes quad recessive projects. So basically, just starting from the ground up. Like I said, I don't do any clutches personally here. That if I'm not going to hold back an animal, I get animals to sell through my byproducts of my double and triple recessive clutches. So I'm not just chasing like a purple GC to a Motley or something like that. That's just not what I'm doing here at my location. I'm working with the double and triple recessives. Projects that I want to see happen. I'm not letting other people outside of my group and Titan deter me away from the projects that I want to see long term. You never know what something's going to look like unless someone makes it. So these double and triple recessives, where one recessive might not play well with others, it could be a great project in the long run. So that's kind of where we're at, where I'm at in the stage of my retic breeding here. I just want to
Okay.
see long-term double, triple, quad recessive stuff. And then also just have fun and making animals that I enjoy. Like I said, when I'm doing these clutches, man, I'm not just putting them out and selling the whole entire clutch. Mainly, I have holdbacks from every clutch that I'm producing. If I'm not doing that, then why am I doing it? I'm just trying to better my breeding stock and my facility here. And I want to get to the point where only the animals that are here are animals that I've produced.
Right.
Because I feel like with me being from Titan, with Keith, and with Rusty, I mean, we have pretty much every genetic out there that is need be. So there's no point for me to go out and about unless I'm adding new blood in, which is why I got some of the Superdor stuff. So I'm crossing that locality in when I hit these final projects and just refining what I'm doing here.
Okay. Cool. So with on the mainland side, when you're doing those triple and quad recessives, right? do you want to get that first before you start taking it into locality animals? So you're making 100% hets and no pos hets?
It just really depends on what that animal is looking like in the double recessive stage. If I think it needs that extra boldness of the black lines or the contrast, then I'll start plugging in some locality blood, and that's kind of why I built up some of the locality animals that I have now to do that and that purpose. Obviously, got one from you as well, so just that stuff right there is just always exciting, just to play with new blood and then put it into your project, so you can see what it looks like full term.
I agree with you. I think that, certain localities definitely, play into the polygenic traits of a certain morph 100%, even if you're like chasing maybe that certain look and you put the locality there, you don't even say like, hey, it's all this percentage, whatever. It is literally just so you can get that look, it's
100%.
there sometimes.
100%.
All right. Jim, do you want me to repeat the question or are you good?
I got it. I got it.
All right.
Down here.
Let's go.
We're also focused on morphs. We're a little bit limited in space here, so I have to be careful what I do. Our goals and what we're making are 3 years out, 4 years out, 8 years out. I mean, there's an end game, and it's all bits and pieces. And we're only doing a couple clutches a year. I mean, 2 years ago we did one. Last year we did two. This year I have 3 planned. But that's it. Like Noah said, everything I'm making for myself. I'm making for myself the most beautiful thing with the genetics I want in it. So I can use that for the future for another project. And there's, 5, 6 projects going on here. And this one's going to that one, and this one's going to that one, and this one's going to those 2. Retics are a little bit different. We do ball pythons too. I mean, I can breed ball pythons all day and send the sheds out and I know what I got and I'm done. But this is different. I want, 100% heads on everything. I have some locale stuff coming in. We want to get that locale stuff into it. Once we make the visuals, breed it back to the locales to make the double heads, the triple heads, as you said, to get those lines, get those colors, get that yellow head in there. There's a lot of planning involved. I mean, I find myself drowning in the shower some days in the morning where my head is going, and the next thing you know, the water's cold.
it does get overwhelming. All right, so quick question. You said you're limited on space, right? I know that Titan has a metric ton of retics between all of them. How many retics are you working with? Rough numbers, Jim.
At the moment, breeding wise, between what I have ready to breed now and coming up, we're probably at 12 animals, 8 to 4 females to males. I have babies I produced this year that we're holding back that'll be moved into that. But yeah, we're really limited at the moment till we get moving and I can move somewhere else.
I just think that that's a great aspect that we're going to get to put into it from like someone like Titan that's like up here and has almost everything. And then it's like, you guys keep in mind where Jim just said he's at 12. So it's very, very plug and play, and a little bit, I think both of them are, but I mean, it's just, that's a much smaller window to work with. So I think that's great comparison for here.
When I make a clutch, when those eggs hatch, they're basically all holdbacks. And you feed them and you watch them grow and you watch them brighten and you watch the personality and you watch the size. I don't offer anything for sale for 6 months, 8 months. I'm not ready to sell it yet. I don't know what I want out of it. And I can only keep 1 or 2 out of every one.
Right. Yeah, it definitely. So this leads into a great next question. All right. So like I said, Noah, like roughly how many retics are you all working with?
Oh, we have 3 different locations, so it's a little bit different. Obviously, Keith is started it all, so his collection is probably upwards to now probably 15 to 20 adult females. I'm working with probably. See, I got most of the Superdor stuff, so I count those, but I got probably 10 breeder females here at my facility, and the Rusty's probably got somewhere the lines of 15 to 20 himself. So, I mean, that's close to 50 breeder females between 3 different locations. So,
Okay, so guys, I think that that's just a great point to bring up real quick before we get into the rest of the questions, and so that you guys can like determine, and see, plug and play with those answers that they're going to give you, and see it from each determining factor of like a limit of like 12 and what I'm holding back and being versus like 50 in 3 locations. So I think that's awesome. All right, so let's get into question number 2, and this is why I wanted to bring that point up before we got into it: is what factors do you determine make the right number of animals to start with for a breeding plan? So start with Noah.
Okay. The factor is solely on you, what you can care for, what you think you have time for, and then what you see your long term goals being. If my long term goals are to produce quad and triple recessive animals, I don't need a tiger that's het for nothing. You know what I mean? So I got to make sure I have those key animals that I'm building up and holding back. So when I hold back a clutch, obviously I'm kind of like Jim here. I have limited space here, so I don't hold back quite as many. But that's the good thing with having 3 different locations. I'm able to spread those animals about. So if I'm making something cool here, Keith's got one, Rusty's got one, I have one, and sometimes it's 2 apiece. Just to make sure we hit on these double and triple recessive, like the pie ghost stuff. We have 3 or 4 of those females. The triple het albino pied anthrax. We have 3 or 4 of those females, and those are all coming up on age. So, like the double and triple recessive stuff, obviously it's a long term plan, but it's also your odds are not in your favor. So you have to hold back X amount of females to try to hit that triple recessive, and if not, the double recessive that'll help you move forward in the breeding program. So here in my location, I mean, I'm making animals. I'll hold back 2 or 3 females, and I base it off of how well are these females eating, how well are these males eating. I'm obviously I'm not going to put out anything that's a stubborn eater, and I'm not going to keep anything that's a stubborn eater. So I just try to pick the best quality animals that I'm making, and everything in my collection I think is the best example of the genes that I'm working with. Um, if I feel like it's not the best, I need to go out and find the best. So I feel like with the animals that I'm producing and that I'm breeding, I feel like are the best examples of the genetics that they hold. So that's just kind of how I go about holding them back. And I don't think there's a set number for anybody. I think that's solely something you have to ask yourself and what you have time for, because these animals take time. They take a lot of food. They take a lot of cleaning. So you just have to add all those factors into when you're going through your breeding process and holding animals back.
I agree. So like, what would, you've hit on some of that. All right. So what would be some red flags that you would tell people to look for if they were thinking like, all right, I want to start and I want to select breeding stock. What are some red flags to tell them to shy away from?
Oh man, you just the buying the het stuff when it's not proven is always a red flag for me, unless you're getting it straight from the source. I don't want an animal that's bounced around 4 different hands, and then you're telling me it's this and that. And obviously, you can contest to this because it's the same for the Superdor stuff with the locality and the percentage, but it's the same for the mainland stuff when it comes to the hets. So
Right.
if I'm putting out a het and then I got an animal in that I'm trying to sell and I haven't proved it or anything, I mean, sometimes I'll say pos het, but other times I just don't even mention it because if I'm not going to put my name on anything that I can't certify.
Makes sense. I like it. All right, Jim. So what are, for you, like I said, space being a factor, right? What factors determine the right number of animals to start with if you were giving somebody advice?
I have in my head numbers of animals that I can physically take care of myself between Jason and I have numbers in my head of what I can afford to feed. If the whole world shuts down and I can't sell a snake for 6 months, I can't have an animal that I can't afford to feed. I have to be able to afford every animal that's up there on my own income with nothing else coming in. And then you have the space factor. We're taking it slow, a clutch of retakes, 2 clutches of retakes. This year I'm pushing it to 3. Would I like to do 4? I would really like to do 4, but I'm not. I don't have the space. I don't have the comfort in the being knowing that I can take care of it and be able to afford to feed it.
Yeah.
Our holdbacks are selected. Like I said, we're holding back 1 or 2 out of every clutch. I made a clutch of Anery Platinums last year that were beautiful that I really wanted to keep the Motley Tiger out of it. But the Motley Anery that was out of there was as green as a shamrock. And I had to keep that color. I sold the Motley Tiger. The guy hasn't gotten it yet. He's getting it in a couple of weeks at Gettysburg. And it's like, man, really hate that I sold that, but I have to make the right decision.
Yeah, and it's always kind of tough sitting there like, oh man, I produced this, like, oh, I want to keep them all. I know that feeling for sure. And then you get so many. So you talk about like that, holding back 1 or 2. How do you rotate with a limited space? Do you rotate your breeding stock out as they grow, or is your stock growing?
The stock is growing. I've moved a couple breeders that I no longer need this year. Offered them for sale and have sold them. I mean, I don't have room to keep them all. You would really like to, but as Noah said, even in the ball python stuff, you're moving into the double recessive, the triple recessive. I have all kinds of stuff here, and the genes in Superdwarf are limited. That's all I'm doing is 50% high.
Right.
I don't have a lot of choices. But you decide you're going to bring in an anthrax. Now, where is that going to go? And what, something's moving in, something's got to move out. So
no, for sure.
And I get to the point where a lot of those recessives are in a couple females. So if you're deciding that these are the 2 recessives you want to work with, I have a female that has those 2 plus something else, and you're making possibles that I don't really need. I'm not worried about it then. But I really, for the most part, don't like possible heads. I don't want to raise something for 4 years, 5 years. You know how females are in Superdwarf. Could be 6 or 7 years. And
I've got something like that.
It's like, man, I missed.
Yep. Oh, I know. For sure. I've got some that are 6 and 7 years old that still haven't bred yet, so I do understand. No, I think that's awesome. And I think that's a big determining factor, guys, that Jim really hit on is, knowing, all right, something's gonna have, if I'm limited on this much space, right? And space, guys, is what you got to look at in the future, because these things, while they're small and they're easy, it's like, oh, I'm gonna have 10 babies and I'm gonna play with them every day. And then when it hits that you're doing 10-foot enclosures every day, and I don't know, like me, yet even a 12-footer will work you. Like, you clean 8 12-foot enclosures, 12-foot females, 10-foot females. It's a lot of work, guys. And y'all are, if you're buying a bunch of babies in the beginning for your breeding program, I think that's one of the biggest determining factors of why people get burnt out, is because they buy too much in the beginning.
Yep.
And so, and this is where I kind of want to add to this question a little bit of my own answer on what factors determine the right number of animals to start with. And guys, if you are an aspiring breeder, the max that I would suggest is a 1.3 4 snakes. If you get the right 3 females and you don't even need the male for 2, if you're buying babies, you don't need the male for 2 years. All right. But if you really think that you want to breed, right, not keep these great animals and have every color of the rainbow, my suggestion is you do not go above 1.3. And then until you get those first at least 2 or 3 clutches. And if it's a mainland, it's really going to determine what your salt is, because the mainlands, usually their first clutches are 30 plus. All right. When you have to take care of 30 plus babies. So if you're an aspiring breeder, that's my 2 cents. I normally don't give it on these questions, but that is something that I really think that is kind of that number right there.
Yeah. And touch on that. That's what weeds people out, honestly, is when breeding's fun. I mean, it's the funnest part. When the babies come, that's when the work begins. And that's what weeds people out when they have to take care of babies. And, it takes 10 minutes to feed one baby because it's dropped it 4 times. You know what I mean? Like that all adds up. So that deters people away a lot, for sure. That makes them and breaks them right there.
100%. Which brings us into that next question, right? So how talking about your holdbacks, right? Stuff like that. How do you prepare a holdback, right? In that chase, there's this chase to the finish of like, I mean, we've heard of people like breeding males at 6 and 7 months old just to get the next thing the quickest, right? Pushing females to breed at 2 years old. All right. We know that this exists in the community, in the industry. How do you guys, what are y'all's way of going about? How do you prepare your young retic? That's your holdback. You've got the vision for the future, right? How do you go about feeding, husbandry, conditioning that holdback? So Noah, you're up.
Gotcha. To start the holdbacks out, man, honestly, the females I put in the back of my mind, I got 3+ years, slow grown. I'll feed them whatever I think is the right proportionate for their body, but I know I have 3 years in that. And that's the cool thing working with the double and the triple recessive stuff is there's not many people that are doing it. And if they are doing it, it's the long term and they want to see the market withheld. So they're going to try to help the market the best they can. They're not going to get a double and triple recessive snake up to breeding size. And before everybody touches it, they're not just going to kill the market. It takes time to get those animals up to size. And it may take 2-3 clutches to hit on that triple recessive stuff. So that's the good thing with working the recessive stuff is a lot of it, the market's going to hold true for it. So there's not really a rush to it. And then also the male is going to be useless unless the female is ready. So unless you want to run him to other things. But I mean, like I can say, I've bred males at 8-9 months old, a year old. Me personally, I have not had good luck with it. I pushed my ocelot this year, one slug clutch and then a half another slug clutch. He was young. But it's all about just taking your time with it, man. It's not a race; it's a marathon. And if you're getting into it for the race, I promise you, there's people light years ahead of you. You're gonna get beat, so you have to understand that. I mean, there's people that just don't show off what they have, and they'll have quad recessive stuff. And Sal and Nick are two of the greatest ones to talk about that. They're light years ahead of a lot of people. And I think we're high up there in the Titan with the hypo stuff, and it's just about finding your niche and what you're enjoying. And that's just the way you go about it. Raising up your animals is you enjoy the animal every day. You're picking your holdbacks because you think that is the best example of the genetics that you could possibly find or you possibly made. So you might as well just not push it. The animal safety is always number one. Just make sure that animal is loved, fed, watered, and you'll get your return later on. So if you're hurting for money, this is not the industry to be in. This is purely passion. You need to be in it for passion. You only last with passion. You have to love what you do, and that's why we're breeding here. We just absolutely.
No, I do agree with that statement. You have to be in it for passion, but if you're gonna breed, you gotta be smart with business on this because otherwise it's a real expense, guys. That's the other thing. I mean, it used to be cheap to buy, rat pups and stuff and feed, a collection. Nowadays it's not so cheap anymore. Food is the number one expense. So guys, if you are not prepared to look at what food costs are going to be for 5, 6, 7, 10, my case, I've got 60 animals, and that's what Jim said. Like, I know that I have my life conditioned in such a way that if I don't make a sale, I still make sure my animals eat, but I also give up a lot of other stuff to do that. So it's a great point. All right, Jim, how do you go about it? Especially, I know you having the super dwarf side of it and them taking the longer time usually than our mainlands. Let's share with everybody. What are you doing?
When I decide what my holdbacks are, like I said, it may take me 6 to 9 months to figure out what I'm holding back. I may have an idea. They may get a little bit more food, a little bit bigger size food, but we're not power feeding them. We don't want fat snakes. We don't want dead snakes in 12 years because they're obese, but they made babies for me a couple years in a row. I feed my male breeders that I want to breed. I want to get them to breed like 18 months. But I don't want to throw a 3.5 foot male in there who's this fat in with a big female and have her turn around and bite him in half. So I want to make sure that the male has something to protect himself in case something bad happens, because it can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's feed them a little bit more. We're not power feeding. We're not trying to breed a female in 2.5 years or 3 years, and you're probably not going to do it anyway.
100%.
No, yeah. So preparing young retics, if you think that I'll say this, like with ROR, we got a couple that bred at 3, right? And everybody's like, you're the only one I know that's ever done it. It's a statistics of numbers type thing, guys.
Right.
I will tell you that I've talked with a bunch of big breeders and I've talked with small breeders and everything else. And I will tell you, like, you can gawk at the idea of how many clutches a big breeder does, but you need to look at how many animals they have. It's generally, I will tell you, the law of averages says 30 to 40% of your females are going to breed in a given year. And that's whether it's a small collection or a big collection. I can say that that's going to be one of those things. So, all right. So, Jim, for you, like, what are some red flags? Like, if you were talking to somebody and saying, hey, like, if you're going to look for breeding stock, what are some red flags that you would tell people to like look for to stay away from?
Make sure you know who you're getting it from. Make sure you can trust who you're getting it from. I mean, that's the most important. I mean, you can go on website here, website there, or Morph Market or whatever, and say, oh yeah, I'm getting a good deal on this, and raise it for 3 or 4 years, and guess what? What did you get? Not what you thought you got. You can go on there and buy, as you know, 50% super dwarf or 75% super dwarf, and you bring it home, and next thing you know, it's 16 feet long. You really have to do your research. You really have to talk to people. You really have to learn, who the people are that you can trust, because a lot of people you can't.
Right. So with that, I would tell you guys too, make sure you figure out what it is that you want to breed, because if you're not breeding something that you're passionate about, you're not going to stick with it. It's 100. You're just not. So, and in that aspect, you guys have got to go after, like, Noah and Jim have brought up the best of that possible breeding stock. I have so many people that have come to me and I just want to breed. What's the cheapest pair of retics I can get to breed? I'm like, I'm tell you what, I'm gonna sell you 2 females, okay? Because I want you to slow your roll.
Yep.
I'm gonna sell you 2 females because you're gonna have some time, and then you're gonna find a male. But we're gonna make sure they work together, because they're determined that they're going to just spend this money, and it's like, okay, like, at least don't get taken advantage of. I'm gonna set you up with 2 females that are gonna work together in the future. But man, go do the research on what you want to breed for, because I think that's that people get excited and they're like, I just got to jump into this right now. This isn't something you just jump into. This is a long-term commitment, guys. These snakes live 30 plus years. Like, oh man. So, all right, cool. All right, we're going to move on. So this is a question I get a lot. And I'm curious to see how you guys do it individually. And that is, how do you guys go about, what are your best practices, tips and tricks for introducing pairs, and making sure that female's ready? All right, Noah, you're up.
I think now, since I've started with the ambient, I get that natural cooling at nighttime and like during breeding season. So I feel like my females give me all the signs in the world that they're ready to get bred. So just slow her down on eating. They start eating slower. I start taking the food slower. And then obviously I'm just kind of waiting for them to get off food. And then I'm introducing my male, leaving him in there, but staying watching for a couple hours just to kind of see what they're doing, how she's acting. And normally I'll leave him in there for about a day, 2 days, see what he does, pull him out. And then normally I try to offer her food again within the week that he's been in there. And if she's not eating, then I leave him in for an extended amount of time just to just to start that breeding process. And then I just wait for I see that swell. When I start seeing the swell, and obviously I'm moving her cages while they're breeding because they're still making a mess. You still got to clean. So I'm moving her cages. I can feel those follicles when they're going in, palpitate when she's going in, feel the follicles. Obviously, I don't have an ultrasound machine. I would love to start investing in that, but I'm using the old basic method, just kind of waiting for them to go off food. My room's naturally getting cooled at nighttime with the ambient, so it's been a great experience.
Uh-oh. Still there?
I'm still here.
Yeah. Noah. Uh-oh. You must have hit a dead spot.
Yep. Yellow.
Hey there.
Hello.
Now you're back. You're back.
There you go.
Man, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. You were rolling good though. You were saying your females, you'll palpate them and stuff, and then
Yeah.
getting them back in, and then we kind of lost you after that.
I was just saying that, like, this is my first year on the ambient, so getting that nighttime drop, just what happens in my room at night, because it's getting colder outside, I just get a slow nighttime drop, and then it comes back up in the day. So it's really helped me see it now, because I mean, I came from old school breeding where it was like pound the female with food, and then when she goes off, she's cycling. Like, we used to food cycle. Obviously, that's not the thing to do now, and I know that now. So that nighttime drop, and then just the added food, but not to the certain extent that we started out as.
Okay, so how much of a nighttime drop are you seeing?
So in my room during the daytime, it's getting up to about 85 degrees ambient in here. So it's about 83, 84 in the cage. And then at nighttime, it goes down to 79 ambient. Obviously, when subs, it's staying a little bit warmer. Degrees.
Nice. Okay. I think we got most of it. You got
Man, dude.
you're having a little bit of lag issues over there, but you're all right. We got most of that. So cool.
I have to do
All
the
right.
next one in the house, bro.
Nah, it's all good. All right. Jim, like what are some of your best practices for intro and pairs, brother?
We're doing pretty much the same thing. I mean, letting the females tell us. Our breeding season is later than everyone else. We're just getting ready to start pairing now. And the females tell us. I mean, they start, smashing the rodent against the side of the cage. I mean, they're starting to get ready. And then you'll see them slow down, and then they'll go off, and now it's time to pair. And yeah, watching them is very important. I'll get a chair up there and I'll sit up there for an hour, for 2 hours, just because you don't know. She gets intolerable with him, and he could be a goner in no time. Like I said in the last segment with the males, I want to make sure that male has some body to him when he goes in there, because one bad move and she'd bite him in half.
Oh, for sure. They definitely will tear each other up if you're.
Yeah.
So if you see that, like how would you explain how to take care of that? If you say you see them wrap each other up, what would you tell somebody? Like that's their first time breeding.
It's funny. I threw a male in the other day, and they're both pretty big. I think one's a 2016 and one's a 2017, 50% super dwarf. And I tapped her on the head, and she seemed like she was fine. And I grabbed him and pulled him out. And of course, he's watery as hell because he could smell her. Slide the cage open, and I slipped him in there, and she bit him and coiled him like. But she knew enough before I got that door back open again to see if I could lend a hand. She said, "Look, back, let go of them." Looked at him like, "Oh, I guess that's not food," and then they were fine. But lucky enough, he's a decent sized male.
Right.
It could be bad. You know,
Oh no.
small super dwarf male, big super dwarf female. She don't want him to throw him across the cage, break his neck.
Yeah, I've seen it before. I had an issue this year where I had a female get bit by the male really bad, and he's already a jerk, makes beautiful babies, but I guess they'd had enough of each other, and he ripped her open, like, and spun her, like had to get close it up, like suture it up. It was really bad. So do you do anything special, like other than like tapping the head when you go to put the male in?
I am very careful. I tap her on the head, push her a little bit with the hook. Then I'll get him out, get him a little bit calmed down, and then I'll do the same thing again. Tap her, push her, lift her with the hook, just so she knows that this isn't what happens when I get fed. And
Right.
for the most part, it's all good. It was really scared me the other day though when she bit him like that.
Oh, 100%. When it happens, you're like, oh crap, these are my babies. Now it's stuck.
Yeah.
So, oh, it is unnerving. So one of
And
the
he
little
makes-
tips
he-
and tricks. Go ahead.
Keep the Listerine on deck.
Some incredible anery babies too.
Oh yeah. So one of the little tips and tricks I do, especially because I've got some females that are just like all it is food motivated. They weren't raised by me, man. They were just tossed food every time the door was open. So that's her reaction. But one of the tricks that I'll do is I'll have my male near her cage in a tub. I'll get the female out of food mode, pull her out, and actually like work with her a little bit. And then as I start to put her in and she starts feeding herself in, I'll like let her keep going. And then I'll put the male in so they're going in at the same time.
There you go.
And I've definitely noticed that has limited any kind of a food response bite like that, coming out like what you described, Jim. So that was a little trick that I do that has helped out, because if I know that she can come out and play with me, then I'm like, okay, cool. Then she can go back in, and then I start feeding the male in with her,
That's
And
a
to
good
add-
idea, yeah.
And to add something else, if I have a clean cage that's open and available, I'll just go ahead and clean it and move the female up, and then, like you said, put them in at the same time in a whole different cage. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. I do not. So you don't have any issues with moving them in a breeding female from cage to cage?
Nah, I mean
I
she's
do.
fully off. I mean I'll do that because the males already know what's going on. If it's a first time female, then I may not, but yeah, I like to cycle up cages, and they don't have like a set cage in here for me.
Me neither.
Nice.
Mine are moved.
Yeah.
Like I said,
All right.
limited space. If every cage is
I'm
you know,
right there with
is
you.
taken,
I cut my
I'll
room in
put-
half for that reason, limited space to
Yep.
stop myself from going crazy.
All right, cool. No, that's good info. All right. Next question. All right. So a lot of people need some help with this one, right? How do you track breeding cycles, follicle development, and your ovulations? Like, what is your process and how does that look?
All right. Yeah, mine is very basic. I put a piece of duct tape 30 days.
We're losing you, Noah. It's breaking up again. Noah, can you hear me? You there? Noah, you good? He's froze out.
You want me to go and go back to him when he comes back?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, Jim, you pick it up.
All right. What's the question? I lost it now.
All right, so Jim. All right, Noah, I'm gonna come back to you. All right, I'm gonna let Jim
All right.
take it while you walk in. So
That works.
all right, so how do you track breeding cycles,
Oh, okay, all right.
like your follicle development, your ovulations? What is your process?
I use reptile scan. Every animal I have is in reptile scan. Every feed goes in there. Every shed goes in there. Every pre-lay shed, every pre-lay shed, ovulation, everything is tracked in there. I've used reptile scan for years. I think I'm like a charter member. I don't even have to pay for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I can run reports. I can print it out on spreadsheets. I mean, I know when that snake went last year. I know when she ovulated last year. I know when she laid last year. Yeah, it works out extremely well.
Are you finding that yours?
Every snake I sell, I can send all those records with that snake. Every time it ate. Every time it shed. Every time I bred it. It helps out a lot.
Nice.
It's a lot of work.
Like, do you find that your females, once they start, and is your cycle is their cycle the same every year?
Yes. Yeah. Real close. Real close. My Anery Motley Tiger, she's due to go off of food like any day. If she follows last year and the year before that, this is right about the time. I mean, I just got updates on my phone from last year and the year before her lock within this week, so it should be coming.
Nice. So that's one of those cool things, guys, that once it's your first female is always your hardest female to breed, right? Because of that, you just don't know what her cookbook is, what her not, but once, if you guys, this is the importance of keeping good records. Jim just told you, keeping those good records will mean that you already know what you need to be doing. And then from there, it is so much easier to lay out costs and everything for food for the year. It helps figure all that out.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's see. With incubation, I'm gonna ask you this one, right? Just in case you get eggs, right? What's your incubation setup like? Where are you at temp wise? This is gonna be a bonus question in there.
My incubator is set because like I said, I do ball pythons and I do retics, and the temperatures are the same. So I'm setting my temperature at 88.5. This way I get right about 90 in that egg, because they're going to produce their own heat. And they hatch, my ball pythons hatch at 56 or 57 days, and my retics hatch at 86 or 87. It's unbelievable.
Nice. And it's consistent. Do you notice do your female, or that, if I can talk, do you notice that your eggs staying at that consistent temperature? Do most of them hatch? Do you have many deformities, anything like that?
I don't have any problems with stuff not hatching. I mean, you'll have your eggs that look like they're fertile. The veins look weak, or you don't see any. You'll lose them, but yeah, I don't lose them any other way.
That's awesome. All right, Noah, let's try you again,
right,
man. Let's see if
I'm in the house. I'm in the house now, so it should be good.
All right, so for you, how do you go about tracking breeding cycles, the follicle development, stuff like that?
For sure. I have just a piece of tape that I put on every piece of glass of the female. So it'll say all food, and I'll put the date. It'll have locks. I'll put all the locks, visual locks I see. It'll have ovulation swell. I'll see when I see the ovulation swell. 30-day shed, and then it'll have 82 days because I transfer it over into the bin on the incubator. So I just keep it all, and then once I'm done with that, once those eggs hatch, I take that piece of tape and I put it on a whiteboard. That way I have it for next year. So I'm always retaining and keeping that information, like Jim said. And my females normally go same time every year, maybe a week or two off. You know what I mean? So it's basically the same as Jim, just I'm not that fancy with it. So just a piece of duct tape does good for me. Put it on there, masking tape, put it on there, and it travels with the eggs and all.
Yeah,
a lot easier that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it is on one
until your information can get lost.
The one thing I'll say is if you get busy and you don't think that it's important, you don't go write those dates down. It doesn't matter what way, guys, that you keep this information. The key is that you have to log it. You have to do it. Because I promise you, if you got any snakes for any amount of time, you ain't gonna remember it all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So, bonus question for you is: what about you? What are you incubating
I incubated at 86 with a buffer to 87. It goes no lower 86, but it'll go up to 87. Low and slow because I do have a pair of coral water monitors. They need to be about 86, so that just helps me have the same incubator.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah, I go 86, and they normally hatch in between 82 to 85 days.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you hit on this just a little bit before. I'm gonna ask you again since you got some time. So you've experimented with different breeding techniques. You talked about food driven. Now you're talking about seasonal cycling. It sounds like, temperature manipulation,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yep.
what do you think is the healthiest way to go about breeding, right? Since you've experimented with all those ways.
For sure, it's the temperature. Just getting that gradual night drop temperature is definitely healthier. Pounding the food with snake. I mean, pounding the snake, pounding the snake with food is not the best method. Like Jim said, it could hurt the animal in the long run. So it's just all about growing and not getting stuck in your ways, and always um, giving information, but a lot of people give information but don't receive it. So you need to be listening as well as giving information.
Nah, that's a big one. Listening and not just listening, but listening to actually receive and retain info versus just hear
100%.
what's being said.
100%.
All right, so we got one more question, guys, that I'm gonna ask, and then if y'all have anything, we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Cool.
So if it's specific to who you want, make sure you put that like who you want to answer. If it's general, we'll just get everybody to answer, right?
Cool.
All right, so I got this is kind of an overall wrap up one. And I'm purely curious to see from the two different angles too, you working for someone and then being a big player and contender, Jim being very, small and niche, right? What are some ways, Noah, that you all, like you as an individual and then working for a company, which I can appreciate, how do you stand out in a competitive world of retic breeding?
Man, it's tough. Social media is the key. I don't think we do it enough. I don't think I do it good enough, and I need to start getting better at it. But social media is the key, and I would love to, like I praise you all a lot for the YouTube and stuff. I want to be transparent with all my customers. I want them to see what my facility looks like 90% of the time. I want them to see that these animals are coming from someone that actually cares. And also, like working for Keith is big for me. Is that brand is something I hold dear to my heart. It's got me into retics. I love Titan just as much as he loves Titan, and I know one day it's going to be mine whenever he decides to step away. So I'm just building up for the future, man, and just my biggest motto, and I have it written on the board now, in my snake room is work hard now, play later. So that pertains to everything in my snake room, whether it's my breedings, whether it's my cleanings, my food regiments, it's everything. So I want to work hard now so I can play later.
All right. So working hard now, right? You guys are producing some top quality stuff, like you said. 3-4 gene. I mean, obviously, even I came to you guys for like the vision of my project, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So what is y'all's approach to avoiding an overproduction of retics, especially knowing how many other people are getting into it?
For sure.
What do you guys do to balance be the balance in that overall as an individual as well as in the community?
Individually through me myself is I have set breedings and pairings that I want to see at the beginning of the season before a snake's even breeding. So if I don't see that exact breeding, I'm just not going to do it. Like I have a female off food now. I don't have the male that I want for here. So I'm just not going to do it. It's just not, I'm just not going to throw a male in just to make babies. It's just not how I'm going to operate anymore. That's how everyone should be. You shouldn't operate like that anymore. You shouldn't have a surplus of 3 to 4 males per every female. You know what I mean? Like you should have that one, strict breeding that you want to do and stick to it. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You always have next year. But as an overall through Titan, just with us is just communication, just understanding what everyone's got coming, whether it be Keith or Rusty, and understanding that what is our maximum output of retics we want to output for the community, for the buyers, and what can we handle. So if that means Keith's got 5 of the 7 clutches we want to hit this year, then he's going to do 5 of the 7, and I'm not going to breed what I need to breed because I'm going to help sell those babies and take some of those babies. So it's just trying to make everybody's workload a little bit easier with each other, and that's why we're partners.
I like it. All right, that's a great way to look at it, especially working with someone else. Like,
Yeah,
I
100%.
will say that, when you're working with someone else versus a lot of people that do it strictly for themselves, I know you've had to have heard people, they talk to you and you're like, it's always that other thing in the back of your mind. You're like, no, like, this is what I want. This is where I want to
Yeah,
be with this
100%.
person.
Like, yeah, I mean, I could
I,
go out and do stuff on my own, but it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be fun to me if I didn't have Keith and Rusty by my side. So it's just not something I'm going to do.
all right. No, I appreciate that for sure. All right, Jim, I'm curious, smaller niche. I like it.
Yep.
What are the ways that you stand out in the competitive world of retic breeding?
The social media, like you said, is very, very important. I'm in customer service and sales my entire life since I'm 16 years old. I know how to make a customer happy. You hear people, they call them by and then they can't get a hold of you. You got a problem, can't get a hold of you. You can call me 85 times before you buy it. You can call me 12 times a day, you got it. And you can call me for the rest of your life and talk about it. Send me pictures, I want to see them. It's very important to have that communication. I mean, I go to a show and there's 4 or 5 people that come every time. They show me pictures of the snake they bought, how well it's doing, and what they want. All about that relationship. It's not a make a snake, sell a snake, and cash a check.
Right.
And then we talked about the locality stuff. I want to get to a point 4 or 5 years from now, so somebody goes to a show in California and they see a snake on somebody's table and they know that is one of my lines, just by the color and the brightness that's in it, the lines that are in it. I want to put my signature on it.
100%.
And that goes back to one of the earlier questions, I think, is like, if you want to breed for a very certain look, it's picking out those right animals to do it with. For instance, I know, I like a very wide open back pattern, like the more it looks like a road. So you get that in like those motleys, and those are the motleys that I pick out, right? Not the closed up ones. Yep. And then I pick out even, any of my others that have my holdbacks have got the most open back patterns, because I want to have that look and that be like, that's a G.I. Joe snake, right? Like,
yep, no doubt.
All right, so like, I don't think the overproduction side of it's a good one for you, because you're staying small and making sure that you're breeding for you. So like,
yeah, I mean, last year I said I made 2 clutches. I have 1 snake left out of those 2 clutches. So this year I'm going to do 3, and hopefully at this time next year I have 1 or 2 snakes left. And if it gets to that point, then maybe I'll go 4. But
so then here would be my next question for you, because doing the super dwarf side of it, the pricing is kind of like, we're all over the place, right? Between everybody. How do you price your animals, and what factors like influence that decision?
I'll look and see where they're at, where Morph Market has them. Some of the bigger guys, some of the more established guys, are going to be higher. I'm never going to be able to sell a snake at that level. We know where they belong. And I don't want to get to the point where I made 6 clutches this year, because I made 5 last year and they all sold, and now I have 32 snakes left, and I'm going to sell them all for $400. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
I'll keep them first.
No, I don't blame you there. I don't blame you at all. So one of the things, like, I would say with that is going to be, look at what is, you got to breed. If you're breeding for something where it is a project long-term, right? Like you guys have heard me talk about it, for instance, is that the Annery blue hypo titanium, that's the one that's my long-term project, right? And so that's a major, you're talking about, a triple recessive. And we hit on it in the beginning, right? Of like, these are the byproducts. Well, the byproducts, I think that an Annery blue hypo is going to be a phenomenal byproduct. So when versus like there have been other projects that we've done where the product itself is great. You see, it's a lot now bino, but the byproduct isn't the greatest, right?
Yep.
So, I think with that, like, that'd be my last question on it, would be like on something like that, where, eventually you have to run that double head to double head, or that double head, triple head to try and hit it. Where do you guys, where are you guys at with, what do you do with all those pos heads? Where are you at with it?
That's
It's not a 3-minute question, Mike. You're good. This is just end up and a
that's
wrap up.
a
This
that's
is one
a
I get asked a lot.
that's a touchy subject, because I know a lot of people just sell them as what they are, face value, not tell people about the certain hits that they may carry. I know some people that do the culling aspect of it, because they don't want to put a lot of stuff out into the market. It's just about where your morals and everything line up for you. If you have customers, and luckily I have a lot of local customers that are just in Kentucky that just like pets. So those would be animals that I would suggest just as pets, and I would sell them at a really good price for those people that I know are not aspiring to be breeders in that aspect. You just
Right.
kind of fill out your customer and see what they want. Obviously, you're not going to make somebody that, if their eye is set on something and they want just a pet, you're not going to make them pay as somebody else that is, a breeder in that aspect. So it's all about just communication at the end of the day, communicating with the customer, making sure you are both on the right page, making sure that they're happy and you're happy.
Yeah. What about you, Jim? Like on something like that, how would you go about it? What's your thing? What's your thoughts?
I try and make sure that there's enough codoms in there that there's something coming out. And a lot of the anery that I work with help, because the
Mhm.
anery normals are gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful byproduct. When I get another 2 years in here and I'm breeding het pied to het pied, then we're gonna have to think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is one of those. This is definitely one of those tough bonus questions, and I'll take the tough bonus answer in it. Right? Is that you do have to establish, like, there is a way to look at that project and chase it, guys. If that is your long-term goal, without putting something out that's going to ruin your market, because while it's
Absolutely.
not all about the money, it's a determining factor whether you want to believe it or not. It's not all about it by any means, but if, like, you throw all your posets out there, then you're putting that, you're going to literally not have a market by the time that you produce what it is you want to produce.
100%.
So there's a number of methods, guys, that and it does boil down to what you're looking at as far as your moral compass. If you cannot cull an animal, those animals that are culled can be used for feeders. There are people like me
100%.
that have an indigo that loves to
100%.
eat snakes. All right, there is that side of it. But if that's not for you, there are a ton of people out there that will take snakes at wholesale, right,
100%.
and never let the genetics out. And then, yeah, they are going to go be somebody's pet. Is there that off chance that somebody randomly breeds it and it lines up? It's a possibility, but it's a much shorter chance.
That's rare.
It's a
Very
very
rare.
short chance, right? Or, guys, you can get in and you can keep the whole clutch, and you can go about it that way. There's a handful of ways to do it. And I know this is a question I get hit with a lot, and it's just part of it when you are working with a new genetic or putting new recessives together. It's one of those things that I think you really do need to take into account what you are going to be willing to do in your breeding plans. What is that going to look like for you? And then Chris brings up a great point. Until we can get genetic testing done, right, and then posets aren't a thing anymore, woof, that'll be awesome. All right.
The only thing I would add to that is, like you said, making sure if you're going to cull an animal, make sure it doesn't go to waste. Make sure you're just not just killing an animal to kill an animal. Let's purpose the animal, give the animal a purpose, you know, venomous, Eastern Indigos, monitors. There's tons of options.
Right. There are. So, but like I said, I think if you are going to take that project on, then you need to have that figured out before you ever put those things together.
1000%.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So we got a question from Goolsby Service, Adam over at Goolsby's, right? It's like he wants to know what size rodent's appropriate for establishing a hatchling, mainland versus dwarf versus super dwarf, right? Like where would you guys come in at?
I like to give a variety off the jump. I'll start out with, you know, rat pups, but I like to go quail, chicks. I like to mix it up here and there. So just ever how I'm feeling, but I normally stay to the quail, chicks, and rat pups for hatchlings.
Yeah. So what about you, Jim, with the super dwarfs? So you got any that are too small for even rat pups?
No, the super dwarfs, even I made 75% platies this year, and I fed them rat pups from day one. When I first started breeding stuff, you feed stuff, you know, pinky mice or fuzzy mice or whatever, and they eat today and they don't eat next week and they don't eat the following week and they're getting skinny. I figure if they're getting that rat pup and they're not going to eat for 2 weeks, they did pretty good. Not only that, I don't have to switch them over. I don't switch anything over. Once they're eating rat pups, they're eating rat pups. And then, yeah, variety's good. I do quail. I will throw mice every once in a while. I breed African soft furs for ball pythons. They'll eat them.
Yeah. I'm careful with ASFs, boy, because, boy, they get on them and then it's like crack. They don't want off of them. I love them. I love
Once in a while,
them.
that's a leftover thing. I got a couple ball pythons that didn't eat. They can, you know, here you go. Leftovers. But
Oh, for
not
sure.
on a regular basis.
A variety's great. Well, hey, guys, we are just a little over an hour. I mean, it has been great talking with y'all. I appreciate y'all stepping up, coming down here for episode 13.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure. I hope that everyone that is in here, Chris and LaRock and James, guys, everybody that joined us, Jason, Jay, hope you guys learned something. You got something out of this. And I'll tell you what, man, we will see you back in 2 weeks for episode 14. If you guys have got any ideas, any episodes that you want to see happen, shoot me a DM. I'm always looking for new ideas. This one happened off of somebody else's idea. I thought it was a great one. So if you got ideas on episodes you want to see and you want to hear the experts talk about, shoot them to me. Other than that, support USARK, support USARK Florida. Go show these guys some love on their Instagram and Facebook pages. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 14.
Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom is sound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungles deep to the captive scene, Retic rule the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic Rundown. Hear the echoing rings. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome, Retic lovers. Welcome, Retic lovers.